Section 6.5 is about solving proportions. So a proportion is a statement that two ratios or fractions or quotients are equal. And we can solve these proportions by cross multiplying. So let's take a look at what that means. 5x over 4 equals 3 halves. What I'm going to do is I'm going to cross multiply. That means I'm going to take x times 2 and 3 times 4. And those are going to be equivalent. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to write 2x equals 12. I divide both sides by 2, and I get x equals 6. Now, why does cross multiplying work? Well, let's take a look at this again. What I could do is I could multiply both sides by the least common denominator. That would be, well, by the greatest common denominator, that would be 4. So let's go ahead and say I multiply both sides by 4, because I can do that and it will remain mathematically co-equivalent. That gives me 4x over 4 is 12 over 2, so I get x equals 6, which is the exact same answer, but cross multiplying allows me to do that a little bit more simply. So why don't I go ahead and clear what we have written in blue, and let's take a look at example 2. So if I have 1 over 5x is 3 over 10x, I'm going to cross multiply. So I take 1 times 10 equals 3 times 5x. So I get 10 equals 15x. I divide both sides by 15. Give myself some more room. I get 10/15 equals x, but that's a fraction which I can simplify. So I get 2/3 equals x. So why don't I go ahead, we're going to take a look at 4 examples. One of them specifically has an application in nursing. So for example 1, in 2016, about 9 out of every Americans had no health insurance. The population at that time was 323 million. And what I want to know is that how many millions of Americans had no health insurance. So it's important to keep in mind that our unit is millions. Well, if I said 9 out of every 100, that means 9 out of every 100. My numerator is those who have no health insurance. And my denominator was those who they surveyed, or that population. So 9 out of that population. I want to know how many people don't have health insurance, which is going to be X, out of 323 million. I can solve this proportion by cross multiplying. I'm going to take 9 times 323 is 100 times x. That gives me 2,907 is 100x. So that means x equals, if I divide both sides by 100, 29.07. But remember, we're working in millions. So how many Americans had no health insurance? About 29.07 million. For example 2, Miss Miller's car. Oh, well, I became Dr. Miller since then. Haha. Okay. Dr. Miller's car uses 10 gallons of gas to travel 210 miles. She has 5 gallons left and wants to know how much more gas, so that's my unknown, that's going to be my x, how much more gas she will need to drive 640 miles. So I have 10 gallons of gas, that'll get me 210 miles. I need to go 640 miles, right? We just have to make sure our units in the denominators and our numerators match up. I already have 5 gallons, but I need to know how much more I will need to go 640 miles. That's where I'm going to take 5 plus x. Now we cross multiply. I have 10 times 640, which is 6,400, is 210 times 5 plus x. And then we want to go ahead and distribute. I have 6,400 is 1,050 plus 210x. I subtract 1,050 from both sides. I get 5,350 is 210x. When I divide both sides by 210, I get 25.47 is x. So let's say I need 25.5 gallons of gas in order to make it 640 miles. Now, why did I go ahead and round? Well, I suppose if you're paying close attention at the pump, you could get 25.47 gallons. Normally in a problem, it will tell you round to the nearest tenth, that's one digit, or it could say round to the nearest hundredth, that's two digits. So just be sure when it asks you to round that you're paying attention to that. Anything above 5 rounds up, anything below 5 rounds down. So our standard rounding rules.